Offshore dating for senior citizens. Which options do they have? Well, today we are going to discuss that. Welcome to Continental Insider, the offshore consulting service for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, and related internationals with a boots-on-the-ground approach. For more information, please check out continentalinsider.com. Today we are going to cover the options for senior citizens dating abroad. Because something that I see, I had senior clients, and something that I see worldwide regarding their options are not necessarily good from what I see on other platforms. The only two options that I see, and particularly I don't like, they either go to these corny events with dating matchmakers that they do some mingling and some gathering around, and with elderly women from these countries. I've seen it in Colombia, I've seen it also in Eastern Europe, or they go with the Southeast Asia route, in Thailand and the Philippines, where they basically, with a huge age gap, that 60-year-old men and with 19-year-old Thai girls or Filipina girls, something like that. Then, by the way, I'm not bashing anybody. If that's your particular preference, good for you. I mean, honestly, I don't have anything against both of these options. Particularly, they are not for me. I don't criticize anyone that goes through those options, by the way. So something that I want to be perfectly clear, I don't judge anybody on that regard. Very good on that. However, there are more options for senior citizens, Western citizens especially, abroad. That is something I wanted to discuss today because, this is my job. Basically, that's what I like to do. I like to create options. I like to bring solutions to problems that other people have, and of course, and that's the value that I like to provide for the market. Could be for investing, could be for intel, anything like that. In this case, for dating. Just for the sake of the conversation, I'm going to define a senior citizen, someone that is 50 years old and above. So just to clear that out. Okay, you're watching this, you're a senior citizen, you are, let's say, mildly successful, maybe you are retired, maybe you live on passive income, you live, anyways, whatever you do, watching this. Okay, what I see right now is first we have to clear that what are first your realistic options, and also that when you are a man, you're a gentleman, there is a gradient, like a chart, that you should be on certain socioeconomic threshold depending on your age, and the older that you are, you need to be better on certain socioeconomic threshold. So that's, on that regard, is something that, by the way, I experienced. For instance, in my 20s, my socioeconomic expectations were not the same as right now that I'm in my mid-30s. Cool on that regard. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's actually a good thing. But however, and regardless of your condition or your position or your ethnicity or your nationality, you need to be on a particular socioeconomic threshold. Now, having defined that, of course, let's put you on the best position possible, and also on the most realistic position possible. So also very important. I don't want to sell hopes and dreams. That's not what I do. Something that defines me is ROI and pragmatism. two things. Those are my mantras in life. And of course, if you're over 50, it's not over. I mean, there are a lot of options, but they have to be realistic options, not just hopes and dreams. Also, if you're watching this, I don't like to get into the looks maxing crowd because, I mean, gives me cringe sometimes. But when you're a senior, you need to apply those particular strategies. Could be your wardrobe. Could be also uh, plastic surgery. Maybe. I mean, if you are up to it, I don't. I mean, I'm not discarding that. Actually, one of my best friends is a plastic surgeon, and let's say I might be getting soon at least putting some Botox. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it, and my friend always offers me that. So I mean, just a funny thing. But yeah, looks maxing has to be considered. Also, I mean, I'm not saying that should be you should look great for your age. It's not that you have to look like a boy or something like that, but you have to look the best possible for your particular age cohort within reasonable standards. I mean, I'm not saying do an extreme makeup or something like that, but everything helps you out. But the most important thing, not only for senior dating, for dating overall, is the place where you are, being at the right place at the right time, not just for dating, it's for everything. But of course, as a man, as a gentleman, you have to work on that regard, working very hard in order to be on the best position possible. And most likely, if you're watching this from the West, it's not gonna be on the West. That's the first thing. I mean, that goes for anyone watching this video. The West is the Western countries, especially a country like the United States, is not the best place for dating. It's actually arguably one of the worst places for dating. I mean, I don't, shout out to American people, the USAA, dating wise is one of the worst places. So basically, you are going to have 4 options. You have Latin America, you have Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, and you have Africa. So on this video, I'm not going to discuss about Africa. I've never been in Africa, and I don't know the dynamics at all. So if you want to leave your comments below on your experience in Africa, very cool. I don't do Africa. Yeah, not for any particular reason, just not my area of expertise. Also on Southeast Asia, I'm not an expert on Southeast Asia. I'm just gonna review what I know, my contacts, my colleagues, that all the intel that I have from Southeast Asia. And then we're gonna go to Eastern Europe and Latin America, that of course is my area of expertise. Okay, now in Southeast Asia, well, the typical is like a meme right now, the dynamic regarding very senior men with very, let's say, very young Asian women. If that's your thing, I mean, yet again, no critique, no judgment on my behalf from that regard. It's not what I do, not at all. But it's something that many people chose that path. And if that's your case, of course, it's going to be the best place possible to do it. Southeast Asia, especially Thailand and the Philippines. Now, let's talk about Eastern Europe. And Eastern Europe is more social accustomed couples and even marriages with a huge dating gap that is usually up to 20 years of an age gap. So basically, that's the threshold. Eastern Europe is not my area of expertise, but in my own experience, they are awesome. Within my own experience, dating Eastern European is excellent, is awesome, but of course, some social things that you have to navigate, especially if you are from the West. Very good on that. Now, realistically, what you can get on Eastern Europe, yet again, something around 20 years of age gap or less, depending, of course, your particular situation, and also depending if you want to date short term, mid term, long term, something like that. You want to get married, something like that. It's up to you. Also, some cultural difference that you have to navigate on that regard. Very good. But that's kind of your realistic option for dating in Eastern Europe. Now, let's go with Latin America. That is, this is my ground. This is my area, my sphere of influence. And let's talk about age gap relationship. Well, to be honest, in Latin America, is not seen as positive compared to Eastern Europe. That's the first thing. Because usually when you see an age gap, let's say more than 10 years, is suspicious for for society overall, and women care a lot what society thinks. So over 10 years, what happens is people see you a little bit funny. I mean, it's not going to be a big deal, by the way. But when that happens, usually some money going on in between on that particular relationship, something like that. Okay. Also, you have to consider in Latin America, the most important thing regarding dating is socioeconomic status rather than looks, personality, and all of the other things. For instance, I met several couples of Western men dating women in Latin America that neither of them speak the other partner's language. The men only speak English and the female only speaks Spanish. And by the way, I have discussions on this thing, and it's usually a socio-economic gap. Of course, the men usually has a way better socio-economic status than females. Very good on that. Now, if you're watching this, and if you want to create something, a true connection, a meaningful connection that is not based on social economic status, well, first let's go with the social economic status. If you are over 40, over 50, can you date a 25-year-old gal? Hell yeah. But it's gonna be, kind of like a sugar baby relationship. Sadly, now there are a bunch of sugar babies in Latin America, and it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to include an age gap. Could be the same age, and the sugar baby is dating the guy just because the guy has money, with no particular connection whatsoever. That happens a lot in Latin America. Now, going with the age gap, within 20 years, you can reasonably date someone, create a meaningful connection, always with a gap, socioeconomic gap, but doesn't have to be a huge gap. But there always has to be a gap. On that regard, very good. And I will say, if you stay within 10 years, anything is possible in Latin America. I will say that's the rule of thumb. A 10-year age gap is when you can generate, the true connection. Or maybe if you want to use the rule of thumb of the French equation, I put a chart here of the French equation, is basically the female could be half your age plus 7. That can also happen and you generate a true connection. But in Latin America, it's not as ingrained as is in Eastern Europe. So usually it's going to be some financial interest on the side, but also, there is a truly genuine connection. Maybe some women here in Latin America can say, for dating a broke guy of my age, I can date, an older guy, regardless if he's a Westerner or not. So cool on that. So that happens a lot, by the way. But you have to be realistic on what's going on. And by the way, you don't have to be a senior man for being involved on those relationships, because, like I said, Latin American females, the top priority is socioeconomic status, increasing their socioeconomic status, and one of the opportunities that they will have is going, on these particular relationships of convenience. Also, you have the possibility, if that's up to you, regarding dating women that maybe, let's say you are 50, you can date women that are, let's say, 40 on that threshold without being, a sugar baby or a ulterior motive intentions on the side. That can happen. You have a general connection. But usually, the good thing about these women is that in Latin America, depending on the country, depending on the city, women over 40 actually they look pretty nice, pretty decent. Not my particular cup of tea, but many men like this, Latin MILF. Just, for the sake of the conversation. Very good on that. But what happens also is usually these particular women have children of their own, have a previous life of their own, so that if that's something that you can embrace or at least endure, well, that's up to you. But that's a very, very realistic option, opportunity, if that's your case. So there you have it, the realistic options for senior citizens dating abroad, just using my own criteria. And if those options are good for you, well, knock yourself out, whatever might be the case. Hopefully you chose one of, according to your preference. And if you're watching this and you're a senior citizen dating abroad, just go get him, Tiger. And if you're a guy, not a senior, yes, still, it's just good, valuable information from when you are on that particular age. For instance, something that I do a lot is that I plan a lot for the future. So I'm over 10 years away from that position. So I'm thinking, what I'm going to do when I'm 50, if I'm dating abroad and such. But we'll see about it. But I mean, I can just coach myself or something. And that's actually one of the reasons what I wanted to create this piece of content. Maybe when I'm 50 myself, I'm going to rewatch this video and see what are my options. So at the end of the day, please remember this is just food for thought. So don't take it too seriously. Thank you for watching Continental Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. And if you want to work with us, continentalinsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.